Whenever someone says Python is easier to learn than Java, the biggest reason they give is you can just open the interpreter and start typing. Java, on the other hand, felt like very heavyweight. We need projects, classes, public static void main just to say hello world. But since Java 9, things have changed. In Java 9, JShell was introduced. That was the Java's answer to Python for new learners. Today, let's pit them against each other in a head to head coding battle. We will compare both from the beginner's learning point of view. Learning Java always used to feel heavy. Even if you just wanted to print hello world, you have to do a lot of things. That's exactly why JShell was introduced in Java 9. With JShell, you can type Java code directly and run it interactively just like Python. No classes, no main method, no IDE setup required. This not only helps beginners learn faster, but also lets experienced developers quickly test and explore new APIs without writing boilerplate code. So let's see how we can execute basic things in JShell and Python parallelly. First thing to know is how to launch JShell. So if your JDK is already added in the path, then you can just open the command prompt or terminal and enter JShell. And for Python, just type Python and enter. Now let's start with the very simple thing, printing something. For that in Python, just type print and the string you want to print. And in case of JShell, just enter system.out.println and then whatever message you want to print and enter. Okay, that was simple. Both Python and Java got the job done without much effort. So let's call this round a tie, 1 point to each Python and Java. Now let's see how we can define variables. In Python, just type the name of the variable and assign it a value. For example, num is equal to 1 to 3. And if we want to access it, then simply print the name of the variable or just type in the name of the variable and press enter. Now let's see how it is done in JShell. In JShell, write the type of the variable, for example, integer, then name of the variable, let's say num, and then assign it a value 1 to 3. Here it will give an instant feedback that value 1 to 3 is assigned to variable num. Here in JShell, you can access the variable value in two ways. One is just type the variable name and press enter, and second one is just using the simple system.out.println and provide the variable name. Here we can see the variable value is printed. In Java, we usually need to mention the type because Java is statically typed language. That means the type of each variable must be known at the compile time and is never changes. Python on the other hand is dynamically typed, so it figures out the type at runtime, which is why you don't need to declare it there. But since Java 10, we also have var, which lets the compiler infer the type for us. So you can just write var num is equal to 1 to 3 and it will work. But the type is still fixed once it is assigned. So if it is assigned to a number, then you cannot assign a string value later point. Alright, so Python keeps it super simple with no types, but Java also gives us the flexibility with var while still keeping the type safety. I would say both handled this round well. So let's give 1 point to Python and 1 point to Java again. Score is now Python 2, Java 2. As discussed, we can use autotype inference with var. Here we need not to define the type of a variable, and based on the value that we are going to assign, its type will be decided. So let's define a variable var message and assign it a value as hello. Here we can also do a quick type checking. For that we will use .getClass and .getName methods. Here we can see its type is string. And if we see in Python, let's also define the same variable msg and assign it some value. Now if we want to check its type, we can use the built-in type function. So when we run type message, it tells us the type as class string, which is basically Python's way of telling that it is a string. So both Python and Java handled this smoothly. So let's give 1 point to each. Let's compare few string operations also. String is by far the most important class in any programming language. So let's compare few string operations in both JShell and Python. So let me declare another var name and I'm assigning it a string value. So its type is string. So now all the string operations can be tested here. So let's try a few of those operations. Let me first make this string to uppercase. Here you can see as we have not assigned the updated value to any variable, JShell automatically created a temporary variable starting with dollar and a number after that. So that also means that our original name variable is not changed to uppercase. Now let's say if we want to display the string multiple times. For that we can use dot repeat function and provide the number which will decide how many times the string will be repeated. Here you can see the string lazy programmer is repeated 3 times. Now before we move ahead, let's try one more method from string. So here in the name we have a space. Now let's replace this space with a hyphen. For that we will use name.replace and the first argument will be the character we want to replace and the second argument will be the replacement character. So here we can see the space is replaced with hyphen. So now let's see how all these things work in Python as well. Here as well we are declaring one variable name and assigning it a value of lazy programmer. Now to make it uppercase we can use upper method as name.upper. This returns lazy programmer in caps. Notice that since we didn't assign it back to the name, the original string stays the same. Python strings are immutable just like Java. Next, if we want to repeat the string multiple times, we can use star operator. So we'll just do name star 3, then it will just repeat the name 3 times. Finally, let's try replacing a character. So if you want to replace a space with hyphen, we'll use replace function and similar to Java, we need to provide the part to replace and the replacement part. Now the space is replaced with hyphen, giving lazy hyphen programmer. All these operations are very similar to Java and Python also keeps the original string unchanged unless we assign the result back. So Python handled all these string operations just as smoothly as Java. Both are showing their strengths here. So let's give 1 point to Python and 1 point to Java. Now let's try some math functions in JShell. For example, if we want to find the square root of 144, we just write math.sqrt 144. It instantly returns 12.0. Similarly, if we want 2 to the power of 10, we can use math.pow 2, 10. It will give us 1024. This shows how easy it is to do common math operations in JShell without any boilerplate. Now let's move to Python. So in Python, math functions are just as simple as Java. We can import the math module first using import math statement, and then to get the square root, we'll use math.sqrt. It will again return 12.0, same as Java. For powers, we can either use double star operator like 2 star star 10, or we can also use math.pow function, which will again give us 1024 as a result. Both languages handled these math functions smoothly and quickly. So let's about 1 point to Python and 1 point to Java again. Now let's see how we can work with arrays in JShell. We can declare an array starting with the data type, then square brackets, and then name of the array, and then assign a list of elements to the array reference. This creates an array of integers with provided elements. So if we want to know the size of the array, we can use .length property and it instantly returns 4. Arrays in Java are fixed in size. We can also access elements using their index like arr0 to get the first element. In Python, we use lists instead of arrays, which are more flexible. We can create lists like this. Now to find the number of elements, we simply use len function. It will return 4 just like Java. Python list can grow or shrink dynamically, so we can add or remove elements anytime. In Java, we have ArrayList for dynamic growing handling. We can access the element using index2 in Python using arr0, which will give us the first element. So in both Java and Python, handling the array and list is very easy. So once again, 1 point to Python and 1 point to Java. Now let's see how we can do looping. So in JShell, for example, if we want to print numbers from 1 to 5, we can write a very simple for loop for int I is equal to 1, I less than is equal to 5, I plus plus. And inside that, we will write system.out.println and the value of that I. JShell gives instant feedback so we can quickly see the output without creating a class or main method. Instead of this traditional for loop, we can also use stream API, which we'll discuss in another section. In Python, looping is even simpler or even more concise. To print numbers from 1 to 5, we can use for loop with a range. So for that, we will write for I in range 1, 6, then print I. Both Java and Python printed the numbers smoothly. So this round goes to 1 point each for Python and Java. Now let's see how we can define simple methods in JShell. For example, if we want to create a method to calculate square of a number, we can write like this. For example, if we want a method to calculate square of a number, we can write int square, then argument details. After that, start of the function body where we are returning the square of number passed as argument and closure of the function body. Here it gives us a confirmation that method is created. And if the same signature function already exists, then it will tell us that the method is updated. This defines a method square that takes an integer num and return its square. We can call the method immediately, let's say by passing 7 as argument, and JShell returns 49. This is how JShell allows us to define methods without creating classes or main method, which makes the testing logic super fast. In Python also, we can define function very easily. We can use def keyword, then name of the function with the argument reference, and in the body, we will return the square of the number passed. We can call it in the similar way by passing the argument value. Here also, both Java and Python handle this method efficiently. So we'll give 1 point to both Python and Java for this round as well. Now let's explore some very important components, classes and objects. In JShell, let's define a class person with one field name. Now let's define a constructor and one greeting method as well. Now this has given us an instant response that person class is created. Now let's create an object of this person class and call the say hello method. Now JShell allows us to define the test class interactively without setting up the full Java project. Now let's create a similar class in Python as well. Now let's create an object of this person class and call the say hello method. Here we can see it is as easy as it was in JShell. So both Java and Python handled classes and objects smoothly. So this round is also another tie. Now let's explore another very important topic, collections and streams. Now suppose we have a list of numbers and want to calculate square of each element. So in that case in Java, let's see how it is done in JShell. First, we need to import list as it is not present in the base package. To do that, we'll do simple import java.util.list. Now let's write the remaining code. Here, list.off creates an immutable list, then .stream converts it into a stream. After that, .map method applies to squaring operation where we map every element of that list and square it. And then in the end, we are collecting the result in the form of another list. JShell gives us an instant feedback so we can see the result immediately. So in Python, we can also perform the similar operation using built-in functions. So here we have this nums list. So using list, map and lambda function, we are able to get the desired output. So this round is 1 point each again. Now one very important topic, exception handling. JShell gives instant error feedback. For example, if I try to assign a string value to an int variable, then it will give me an instant error feedback. Here you can see it has given me incompatible type error. Python also gives instant feedback but in a slightly different way. For example, if we try to assign a string to an integer variable and then perform an operation expecting a number, then Python will raise an error. So here I have a is equal to 1 and now I want to do b is equal to a plus 5. This gives me a type error. Python checks types at runtime. So the error appears immediately when you try to perform an invalid operation. So let's give 1 point each for catching the mistakes quickly. Now, if we want to handle the exceptions gracefully, let's see how it can be handled in both JShell and Python. Suppose we try to divide by 0. We can catch the error using try-catch block in JShell. JShell immediately prints arithmetic exception of division by 0. This shows how we can catch the runtime errors and handle them gracefully even in the interactive sessions. In Python, exception handling is very similar, but it uses try except block. So in this, Python immediately prints division by 0. So just like Java, we can catch runtime errors and prevent the program from crashing. Both JShell and Python make exception handling straightforward and interactive. So we'll give 1 point for each in this round as well. Now suppose you have done a lot of practice in command prompt and now you have to log out. But you do not want to start from scratch tomorrow. So in JShell, you can save and reload your session easily. For example, after experimenting with variables, methods, and objects, you can save your current session using /save and then name of the session with .jsch extension. Later, you can reload it using /open and name of that session. This restores all the previously defined variables, methods, imports that will let you continue from where you actually left off the previous day. Let us do this with an example. Here I am setting one variable x and its value as session. Now first I'll exit without saving the session, and in the new session I'll try to access the variable x. Here you can see I am not able to find that variable. Now let me create it again and save the session. Now let me load the saved session and access the variable x again. Here you can see I'm able to access the detail which was saved in the demo session. Now, in the standard Python interpreter in command prompt or terminal, there is no built-in way to save or reload the session by default. If you want to persist your work, you usually need to write your code into a .py script and run it again. Alternatively, advanced shells like IPython, which will provide save or run commands for the session persistence. So Python requires extra steps to achieve the same effect. JShell makes saving and reloading session effortless in command prompt and terminal, while Python needs some extra setup. So for this round also, 1 point to Java and 0 point to Python. Now JShell provides a set of special commands starting with / to help manage your sessions. For example, if you want to list down all the snippets that you have entered so far, you can use /lists. Or if you want to see what all variables that you have defined, you can use /vars. If you want to list down all the defined methods in your current session, you can use /methods. So just like this, we have multiple other options available under the help. These commands make exploring, editing, and saving your work extremely easy right inside the shell. In the standard Python interpreter in command prompt or terminal, there are no direct equivalent to JShell's help commands. Python does not provide built-in way to list all the variables, functions, or classes in a neatly formatted way. Now to inspect the variables, you can use dir or globals, but it is not as organized as JShell. Editing previously typed lines or saving or loading the sessions require manually writing a py script. Exiting the interpreter is done via exit or Ctrl Z plus enter in Windows. So while JShell provides a rich set of interactive commands, Python in command prompt or terminal is more minimal and requires extra steps for external tools. JShell clearly wins this round with its powerful session commands. So we'll give 1 point to Java and 0 to Python. Alright, so we have covered a lot in today's session. Let's take a moment to summarize the rounds and see who comes out on the top. Don't only go by the final score. Python wins in simplicity and minimal boilerplate with dynamic typing, concise loops, and easy functions make it very beginner friendly. JShell, on the other hand, gives Java developers instant interactivity, error feedback, autocomplete, session persistence, and powerful commands right in the terminal, all without creating full projects. So for learning Java interactively and testing ideas quickly, JShell is a game changer. Python is great for quick scripts and learning programming concepts, but JShell brings Java into the same playground where experimentation is fast and fun. So in short, Python is simplicity, and JShell is interactivity and power. Who do you think would win in your own project? The clean simplicity of Python or the interactive power of JShell? Either way, both are amazing tools to have in your programming toolkit. In the end, let's just see what are the practical use cases of JShell. It can be used for quick testing of logic before you want to add something in your project, or it is good for teaching Java basic interactively. And we can also explore new Java APIs without writing the boilerplate code. Okay, so that was all about how Java has evolved with the time and how it has become more easy for the new learners. If you find this session useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And also press the bell icon so that you won't miss any new update. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, let's keep learning.